Hello, Daytime Emmy fans. Daniel Montgomery here with Gold Derby contributor Tony Ruiz to talk about the Daytime Emmy reels that were submitted in the acting categories to determine the winner. And the winners were actually decided when the nominees were decided. It was just one round of voting. When the pre-nominees, the 10 pre-nominees per acting category, were viewed by blue ribbon panels. They pick the nominees and winners. Now, there are 10 pre-nominees for Best Supporting Actress, and only 4 of them missed the cut because there was clearly a tie in voting. So there are 6 nominees instead of 5, as in the other acting categories. And those nominees are basically the cast of The Young and the Restless. They have 4 nominees: Marla Adams, Cameron Grimes, Michelle Morgan, and Elizabeth Hendrickson, all from The Young and the Restless. And they're joined by Susan Seaforth Hayes from Days of Our Lives and Jacqueline MacInnes Wood from The Bold and the Beautiful. Now, we've talked about a couple of other, the younger acting races. We both agree on the winner in those races. We disagree on the winner for Best Supporting or Best Supporting Actress, but it's a really tight one. I think we agree on 3 contenders who are really, really in it to win it. And I will start with my personal choice, who I think is going to win, and that's Marla Adams from The Young and the Restless. She submitted episodes. She's fairly estranged from her family. She's the matriarch of the Abbott family. Her son, Jack Abbott, is played by Peter Bergman, a nominee for Best Actor. Her daughter is Eileen Davidson, Best Actress nominee. That character, Ashley Abbott. And the reel involves a couple of things. There's one, Ashley's paternity. The man who is known to be her father isn't really her father, and her mother accidentally lets it spill to the public. And then there's also the matter of this character suffering from the beginnings of likely Alzheimer's disease, and her memory is going, and she's trying to maintain a connection with her children while she can. I think this had tons of range, tons of impact. Like the way she, after she reveals everything about her daughter's paternity and her daughter is furious with her, is so heartbreaking. And then she's angry at this younger man who's been trying to manipulate her out of her money. I thought that was a great bit of range. And then she has a beautiful payoff at the end where she tells Jack, she's losing her memory. She knows it, and she says, "I want you to know that I love you now and always." And it's such. It really got me, and I watched it a couple of times, and so I love this reel. But it's a really close race. What did you think about this reel?
I liked it. When Marla Adams came back to Young and the Restless, there was a lot of buzz about this storyline because she has been a figure that's been discussed a lot but hasn't been seen in quite some time, and she comes back on with a vengeance and was really given quite a huge story this past year, not just with trying to get back in with the family, but also with the Alzheimer's storyline, which is featured quite heavily both on Peter Bergman's reel and Eileen Davidson's reel. And I liked it a lot. For me, I just didn't respond to it as much as I responded to some of the other performances. And what worries me is that this category in particular, we always talk about how at the Oscars, there's always kind of like the veteran achievement category, particularly in the supporting categories. That historically hasn't proven to be the same at the Daytime Emmys. They're much less sentimental, and Adams is going up against some really big firework in your face performances, and I wonder if some of the more subtle moments in her reel will detract from that.
I reserve the right to change my mind about any of my predictions between now and the time the winners are announced on the 29th. And this is one I've gone back and forth over. So now you have another opportunity to try to convince me of who will really win this category. So tell us who you're predicting. And this is not something I even disagree with, because I think this performance is also dynamite.
Yeah, I'm going with Cameron Grimes. I watched this reel and it just broke my heart, because the reel is about her having an attraction to a woman, and not just any woman, but the girlfriend of her brother. The girlfriend, Tessa, is played by Kate Fairbanks, who's nominated in Best Younger Actress. And the reel begins with the two of them kissing, and both of them feeling awkward about it and trying to make sense of it. And then Grimes really has a lovely scene with her mother, played by Sharon Case, where she tells her mother about her attraction to Tessa and how guilty she feels about it, and how she feels like her relationship with her boyfriend, Devon, feels like a show. It feels like it's not the real her. And then the scene ends with a scene that was also included in Kate Fairbanks' reel, where Mariah, Cameron Grimes' character, basically puts all her cards on the table and says, "I want to be more than friends." And she's rejected essentially by Tessa. And it's just kind of, to me, that was such a gut punch of a moment, even though I had seen it on the previous reel, to see it from both characters' perspectives of Mariah really putting herself out there and being just devastated by the rejection. And Tessa says, can't we still be friends? And she's like, I don't want to be friends, not like this. And to me, that just really, really hit me. And these types of storylines tend to win. Chandler Massey certainly won 3 times in the younger actor category. Two of his were coming out reels.
Some of them were strangely almost the same coming out reel, because he strangely had to come out to Marlena about being gay like twice.
Yeah.
And he kind of does again in Best Supporting Actor this year, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that
later.
But I feel like there's certainly, she has so much range, and she has so much sympathy in this performance. And it really just ends with a real moment of heartbreak. I think the similarity between your favorite reel and mine is that they both end with these really emotional moments, and hers just really resonated with me.
Yeah, I do not disagree with a single thing you said about Cameron Grimes' reel. It's kind of a toss-up of how these things just landed. And it's also, a mystery of how you watch them, because I believe we watched these in a different order. Marla Adams was the first one I watched, and at that point I was measuring everyone else against her. But there is one other actress who we both agree is right up there with both of them. And if you looked up Emmy reel in the dictionary, Michelle Morgan submitted it. This is textbook perfect Emmy submitting. She, what we look for is emotional impact, emotional range. So not just, crying or angry or, a variety of emotions to showcase your full range as an actor, and empathy. And she just so perfectly submitted her reel. She plays Hillary Curtis, who is married to Devon, who used to be married to Devon's father, which is a parent-child love triangles. This is one of at least 3 at these Daytime Emmys.
And wasn't there something like 5 last year or the year before?
4 or 5. Like 2 years ago, I believe every single soap had Emmy reels involving at least one parent-child love triangle. Thankfully, I think that can be a little off-putting. Thankfully, this reel isn't actually about that triangle, because that triangle was kind of resolved when Hillary ended up with the son. So in the first scene, Hillary has done something that her husband was not happy with, and her husband has run out on her. And so her husband's father, they're having a confrontation about the mistakes they've made in their lives. And Hillary is furious with his hypocrisy because he has done some pretty terrible things himself. And then in the second scene is a quieter scene where and it's almost a monologue where Devon is back, assuming this scene took place afterwards, where she is a talk show host who is kind of a tabloid talk show host. And but suddenly her secrets have been revealed, or specifically she has had nude photos leaked online, and she feels very exposed and violated, but also guilty about how she has exposed other people on her show. And then in the final scene, Devon has been injured. He's in the hospital, unconscious, and she gets basically a 2 or 3 minute monologue about how she doesn't deserve his love, but she's going to be with him through the end. So she gets the angry scene, big impact. She gets the quieter scene, which is emotional and affecting, but quieter and shows off a different, subtler, nuanced level of her acting. And then she gets a straight up monologue, crying at the bedside of her husband. This is how you submit Emmy reels. Like I would think if she were in almost any other category, I think this is a winning reel. But this is the women in this category are so strong. What did you think about that performance?
Ditto. That was a character that I've seen on The Young and the Restless and never really paid that much attention to, because she is, just pretty much a tabloid journalist and opportunist and things like that. But going into it, really not knowing that much about, the backstory or anything like that, you said it perfectly. She gets this really angry scene at the beginning where she gets that moment that really always resonates with me. We've seen it in Winning Wheels before, where she just screams at Neil.
It's so good. Don't stand there and be self-righteous with me.
I know.
Oh my goodness. I was like, yes.
It's that kind of yelling where you can imagine the guy handling the boom mic moving the mic away so that it kind of fills the space. It's so good. And then,
but controlled. It's like it doesn't feel
totally. Yeah. It felt organic. It felt natural. And then the middle scene reveals a sympathetic, like you actually feel bad for her because she's actually like self-reflective and going, maybe I deserve this, And then the bed scene in the hospital. Those scenes can be so, it's such a well-worn daytime trope. Long tearful speech next to the bedside, but it's so well written and she acts it so well.
And it ties into the emotions that she's feeling in the previous two scenes, the guilt she feels about her own, misdeeds, and her insistence on loving this person who has every reason to leave her.
Yeah, I totally think she could win, I could so easily be talked into putting her at number one. Just talking about it right now, I could really, really put her at number one. And if she wins, you go girl. That's what I have to say.
This category is so much a coin toss for me. It's so much about what that particular blue ribbon panel, just what they felt like that day. What they had for lunch, maybe. I don't know, because I feel like you could take the same voters and like a week later they watch the same scenes and they could pick another one.
Yeah.
Because they're all kind of on that same level. Now, there are 3 other nominees in this category. The next one I'd like to talk about, the only Young and the Restless actress who we're not talking about as a contender to win, which feels sad because she's been nominated like 4 times before, or 3 or 4 times before, for playing Chloe Mitchell, Elizabeth Hendrickson, who's been on the show, off the show. She played this storyline where her daughter young daughter was killed in a hit-and-run accident. That storyline won an Emmy for Billy Miller. It won an Emmy for Amelia Heinley. It won the show an Emmy for Best Drama Series. She did not win the Emmy for it that year. She was nominated a couple more times, hasn't won. The storyline is still going on, and she submitted more scenes from it because she's killed the man who killed her daughter. And she's getting caught by the man who, or the wife, the widow of the man who killed her daughter. which is such an impactful scene. It's just not quite like, it's not that there's anything wrong with this reel. I find myself looking at this reel and going, this is a really good reel. It's just, there are 3 reels that I think are, A+. So what did you think about Hendrickson here?
Yeah, I was really, really loving Hendrickson's reel, particularly in the scene with Melissa Claire Egan, who also is just fantastic in that scene. But I also think that that's part of the problem. That's what I think holds the reel back from me putting it higher, is that for that middle portion of the scene, which really is the emotional impact of the whole reel, is that Melissa Claire Egan is as dominating a force, if not more so, than Elizabeth Hendrickson. And I felt like the scene at the end with Victor, as she's trying to make her escape, was a little anticlimactic, particularly after that big emotional payoff in the middle. I certainly wouldn't begrudge her a win, because she's been so good. And you're absolutely right. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, was she nominated in the same category as Amelia Heinle?
She was, and it was the most, and Amelia Heinle, I thought she had a great episode that year and deserved that win. But it was kind of ironic because Amelia Heinle plays the stepmother of the child who died, who is mourning. And Elizabeth Hendrickson submitted this like incredibly emotional scene as the mother, just finding out her daughter has died. And the stepmother won the Emmy, which I was so surprised by, even though I thought she had a dynamite reel. And poor Amelia Heinle, the reverberations of the storyline, or poor Elizabeth Hendrickson, the storyline still reverberating on the show, and she hasn't gotten the Emmy payoff yet. So I if she wins, I would be perfectly happy as well.
And that leaves the other 2 nominees in this category: Susan Seaforth Hayes, who is already guaranteed an Emmy trophy because she, along with her husband, are winning the Lifetime Achievement Award.
She's been on Days of Our Lives on and off for 50 years.
Yeah.
She hasn't been nominated since before I was born. 1978 or 79, I believe, was her last nomination.
Yeah, I was born then, so
yeah. so you have a strong memory then of her last.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I was sitting in my high chair watching Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, she has. Tell us about her reel.
She submitted 3 scenes. In the first scene, her character finds out that her son has been killed in a motorcycle accident, and it's a really powerful opening because she doesn't hold anything back. She lets out this kind of just howl of anguish that as a parent myself, I can totally imagine that, and you certainly feel sympathy for that. And then she has a short scene with Hope, where Hope is debating whether or not to get married to Rafe after Beau has died, and Susan Seaforth Hayes pretty much is kind of like the sage in this scene, talking about how people should take their happiness while they have the chance. And then there's a kind of comedic scene at the end where Julie and Chloe are both trying to buy a nightclub, and Julie is kind of condescending towards Chloe and mocking her wanting to go into business and hoping that the best woman wins. It's a very nice reel because it does have a good deal of range with the grief at the beginning, and I found the middle portion of her scene to be the most affecting because it's very natural. It's very it's almost like you can imagine having that conversation with an older, wiser person, and having the nice bit of comedy at the end. This is one of those reels where I kind of wish that there had been more. It's a barely 4.5 minute submission, I believe.
Yeah, it's the shortest acting reel, I believe, in any of the 7 acting categories, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. And I just she's lovely in all of these scenes, but I just don't think when you compare it to the other nominees, I just don't think it's enough.
Yeah, you can fit her entire reel into like one Michelle Morgan or Cameron Grimes monologue practically, which and it's a lovely performance, but it's again, yeah, I agree. It's just there's just not enough performance there. I want to see more of Susan Seaforth Hayes, especially to explore more of that first storyline where her son dies tragically. I feel like there must have been more there that she could have had access to in terms of scenes. But yeah, she will take home a Lifetime Achievement Award regardless. So congratulations to her for that. I don't think this is going to be her category. And then the final nominee is Jacqueline MacInnes Wood for The Bold and Beautiful, who is nominated for the first time for Best Supporting Actress, but she was nominated a couple times before for Younger Actress. She submitted scenes, and again, parent-child love triangle, and in this case,
Yay!
all about the parent-child love triangle, because the first scene, she is waking up horrified. She's waking up in bed with Bill Spencer, who is her father-in-law, and she's horrified. She runs out. She goes back to her husband Liam, and forgives him. He had a minor indiscretion. She had a much greater one. She doesn't tell him about hers. She just forgives him for his, and just tries like let's just move on. Let's just pretend none of this happened. But of course, it's a soap opera, so she's pregnant, and it could be Liam's child, or it could be Liam's sibling, because it could be his father's child, which so weird on these soap operas. So many parent-child love triangles. I just don't get it. But yeah, so she's torn up about whether she should admit the truth and lose Liam, get a paternity test maybe, or what will happen. And she's good in the scenes. I think her problem is that it's that kind of thing that we saw in Susan Lucci years when she couldn't win an Emmy. It's very much crying. It's a lot of the same kind of scene in terms of the emotion she's expressing. So I don't think she has as much range as the other nominees.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. She's very good at crying, apparently, because that's pretty much all she does in this reel. And it builds right up to this moment where she says it's about, where she tells Liam it's about your father, and you're just like, really? That's where you're going to stop? I mean, maybe the episodes didn't fit in the eligibility time frame.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she didn't tell him until 2018. If she's told him yet, I'm not 100% clear.
So maybe we'll be able to revisit this storyline again in next year's Emmy submissions. But yeah, I feel like, especially for as long as this reel is, it's just too much crying. And you're exactly right about the Lalucci problem. Is that when she finally won, she finally submitted a reel that had some real range to it, rather than just her always crying.
Yeah, so that's the Best Supporting Actress category. I'm predicting Marla Adams at the moment. Check my predictions at Gold Derby in a few days. It could be Cameron Grimes, and it could be Michelle Morgan. It is that close. Tony is predicting Cameron Grimes. But we are both pretty confident that it's going to go to someone from The Young and the Restless. So whichever way the wind is blowing for you, make your predictions at Gold Derby, and thank you very much for watching.